Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tackling something absolutely crucial. We're officially dismantling the AI hype machine. For the past couple of years, we've heard endless, totally over-the-top promises about how AI is just going to magically fix every single operational headache overnight, right? Well, fast forward to today, and we finally have the hard 2026 data to see what's actually happening on the ground inside these organizations. So we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're looking at real-world enterprise outcomes, drawn on some seriously massive new datasets from Alice Labs, PwC's Global AI Jobs Barometer, and McKinsey's State of Organizations report. Let's get into it.
I want to start right out of the gate with a number that honestly should make every single business leader pause. 69%. According to data published by the OECD and analyzed by Alice Labs, 69% of firms attempting AI adoption literally fail to reach production deployment without external support. Just let that sink in for a second. Nearly 7 out of 10 organizations that try to plug AI into their operations just end up stuck in what we call pilot purgatory. They literally can't get these systems live to actually deliver any value.
So obviously this begs a pretty urgent question, doesn't it? Why is there such a massive divide here? Why are a select group of companies seeing absolutely staggering productivity gains and cost reductions, while the vast majority just completely fail to launch? What exactly do the successful 31% know that everyone else doesn't? Well, that is exactly what we're going to decode today. We are building a data-backed playbook for actual, measurable AI success.
Section 1. The Tectonic AI Shift. Okay, let's dive into this.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty implementation steps, we really need to understand the sheer scale of what we're dealing with across the global economy. McKinsey's 2026 State of Organizations report identifies AI not just as some shiny new software tool, but as a literal tectonic force. So actually, scratch that idea of just automating a few spreadsheets. This is a massive paradigm shift. It is forcing leading organizations to completely reimagine how work gets done from the ground up. They're redefining end-to-end processes and rethinking traditional corporate structures just to stay competitive. It's a fundamental alteration of the whole business landscape.
And the wild part? The financial impact of this tectonic shift is already totally measurable. According to PwC's AI Jobs Barometer, which, by the way, analyzed over 1 billion job ads globally, productivity growth is currently 40% higher at companies that are most exposed to AI compared to those that are least exposed. So, the companies that are really leaning into this technology are quite literally pulling away from their competitors, and they're doing it fast. And this brilliantly illustrates what economists are calling the superstar effect. When you look at the top 20% of AI-adopting companies, the true pioneers out there, they aren't just seeing a little 40% bump. No way. They are achieving a massive 163% productivity growth on average. That is enough to leave the baseline growth standard completely in the dust. It just goes to show us that the rewards for getting AI right are exponential, not just incremental.
Section 2. The two-track labor market.
Now, we need to talk about a really persistent myth out there. The idea that AI is simply a job killer designed to just slash headcount. PwC's data reveals something totally different. AI is actually creating a two-track labor market. On one track, we have what they call democratized jobs. These are roles made easier for non-experts by AI. But the really exciting track is professionalized jobs. These are roles that AI is actually reshaping to require more human expertise. And here is the kicker. The number of professionalized jobs is growing twice as fast as democratized ones, and they're commanding a 42% higher wage growth since 2021. So the companies making these huge productivity gains are actually raising wages and expanding headcount. They're using AI to amplify human value, not erase it. Because of all this, AI is completely transforming entry-level work. The traditional career ladder is basically compressing right before our eyes. Since AI can now handle all that routine, foundational stuff, junior staff are being forced to step up to complex decision-making way earlier in their careers. In fact, highly AI-exposed junior roles are 7 times more likely to demand traditionally senior skills, things like leadership and strategic thinking. It turns out, as AI absorbs the robotic work, uniquely human traits like empathy, judgment, and creativity are becoming your absolute most valuable workplace commodities.
Section 3. Real enterprise outcomes.
Let's shift gears from those macro labor trends down to some specific, grounded outcomes so we can see what companies are actually getting in return for paying those higher wages. Now, what's really interesting about this data is the specificity. Looking at Alice Labs' 2026 research, the wins across totally different sectors are just incredible. In healthcare, AI projects focused on patient personalization are driving a 22% operational cost reduction, and that usually takes about 14 months to implement. In financial services, banks are seeing a staggering 45% reduction in fraud false positives within 11 months, which, by the way, saves massive amounts of manual review time. And in manufacturing, heavily integrated AI is yielding up to a 55% throughput increase over an 18-month timeline. These aren't just pie-in-the-sky theoretical projections anymore. These are verified 2026 enterprise results.
Section 4. The hidden prerequisites.
Okay, remember that 69% failure rate we started with? Yeah, getting those massive ROI results is clearly not a walk in the park. We really need to talk about the unglamorous, highly structural steps required to actually achieve that level of return. The data shows that the 31% of firms that actually succeed share a non-negotiable bedrock playbook. It basically consists of 3 specific things. First, a dedicated 6 to 12-week data readiness phase before any model development even begins, because unfortunately, just wishing your data was organized doesn't magically make it so. Second, a governance-first approach to scope and compliance. And third, a dedicated change management workstream. Honestly, if you skip these, the data says you are almost guaranteed to end up right back in pilot purgatory. Let's look at that first step, data. According to a joint report from the OECD and BCG, data-mature firms, meaning the ones with structured data pipelines and nice clean historical data, achieve 2.3 times higher AI project ROI than data-nascent firms. You simply cannot throw advanced algorithms at legacy, unstructured, siloed data and expect magic. It's just not going to happen. Preparing the data isn't some annoying administrative overhead, it is the absolute foundation of your return on investment. If you throw algorithms at messy data, it will crater your ROI for sure. Next up is governance. And this brings us to a wonderfully counterintuitive finding from a recent Deloitte case study. They found that implementing a strict governance, compliance, and audit framework before you even begin development actually reduces post-launch rework by over 40%. Setting the rules, the bias testing protocols, and the data lineage mapping up front doesn't slow you down like you might think. It actually speeds up your iteration cycles because you aren't trying to frantically retrofit compliance onto a totally broken model later on.
Section 5. Human-AI Collaboration.
Finally, let's look at what might just be the most crucial piece of the entire puzzle: why human adoption is the ultimate differentiator for technical models. This quote from PwC really hits the nail on the head. The future belongs to agentic AI agents that act as the ultimate complement to human expertise. The big overarching thesis from both McKinsey and PwC is that we are moving toward a new world of collaboration. The goal is not to replace the human, it's to give the human a whole team of AI agents so they can apply their judgment, strategy, and empathy at a vastly greater scale. But to actually pull that off, humans have to, well, adopt the technology. So the crucial point is right here. McKinsey's 2026 data shows that AI consulting projects that actually include a structured change management workstream, meaning they have role-specific training, feedback loops, frontline adoption plans, the whole shebang, they are 2.7 times more likely to hit their stated business outcomes within 12 months. You know, change management is usually the very first thing that gets slashed from an IT budget. But think about it. A technically flawless AI model that your workforce absolutely refuses to use, that delivers exactly 0 ROI.
And that leads us to our final thought. The data from 2026 is crystal clear. True AI success is not just a software installation, it requires profound structural and human reinvention. So I want you to ask yourself and really think about what this means for your team. Is your organization actively building a workforce for the AI era? Are you prioritizing data readiness, governance, and human adaptation? Or are you just trying to plug advanced algorithms into yesterday's outdated structures? The answer to that question will likely determine whether you end up in the thriving 31% or the failing 69%. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep innovating.